Guys, so welcome to season 2. Today we have Maddi from RVShare. Welcome, Maddi. For those of you guys that don't know what RVShare is, it's the largest online community for RV renters and owners. So thank you for joining us, Maddi.
Hi guys, thanks. Happy to be here.
So can you tell us a little bit more what your role is at RVShare and its mission?
Sure. So I work for RVShare full time as a marketing executive. I'm the director of brand marketing, and together with my team at RVShare, the mission is to get more people outdoors and in RVs and make booking an RV rental as easy as a hotel. So we list RVs from owners. So if you own an RV, you could list it on our site for others to rent and experience the magic of an RV trip. I also am a travel expert and have been in the industry for over a decade. I've taken more than 20 RV rental trips, traveled to almost all 50 states. I'm getting close.
Nice.
And I've been to about 25 countries. So I love to talk travel, and I think I came to the right place.
Yeah, fabulous.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. 25 countries. That's
Yeah. And that's also my goal is to hit every
all
state.
50 states.
That's one of my biggest goals is to at least stay. And when I say go, I want to stay there, not just pass through
Yes.
and
I was
explore.
super close before the pandemic, and I wanted to do it before my 30th birthday. And then the pandemic hit, and that put me behind, and I missed my goal. And so now I haven't been as motivated to get to every single state, but I'll get there eventually. I only have like three or four left.
That's
So what
amazing.
3 or 4 have you not hit yet? I'm just curious.
South and North Dakota, which I do have a bucket list RV trip. I would love to go to the Badlands there
Oh,
via RV.
okay.
Alaska, and there is one more. It's around the Dakotas, one of the like
Okay.
in that area. Trying to
Yeah,
think. But yeah.
they're a little more
Um
remote.
mhm. So
Got you.
That's awesome. Have you heard before? I know we're getting a little off topic, but have you heard of the 50 State Club?
yes, I have.
Yeah, I've been following them, and that's my goal is to get that approval from them and that certificate.
Oh, nice. Well, good luck, ladies. I'm not interested in doing all 50 states.
Yeah.
Just the I'm gonna you guys got it. You guys.
All right, that's awesome.
I'll cheer you
So
on from
there
over
is
here.
a huge variety of RV types out there. How can travelers choose the best one for their specific needs?
Yeah, so on our VShare, you can, browse a bunch of different types of makes and models, which makes our website unique. So if you've ever looked into renting an RV before, usually, you could look at a local like dealer or a fleet, which is something like a Cruise America. And if you've kept your eyes peeled on the highway, you will see those Cruise America RVs wrapped with their branding. Those fleets are ones that rent just one specific type. So they have a like Class C RV, kind of the quintessential RV that you picture when you think of RV travel. With RV Share, you can head to our website and browse 3,000 different types of makes and models. So you can really get a
Wow.
full experience, find the right RV for your party based on sleeping arrangements and what type of trip you're taking, and what would work best for the mode of travel. So we have a bunch of different options ranging from, those teardrop trailers that you could pull behind a sedan to a huge Class A tour like bus rock star type of RVs.
Nice.
Most popular are, that classy drivable. It's perfect for a family, usually sleeps 4 to 5 people, and you could do a multi-stop road trip. The other most popular one is actually travel trailer, and you're thinking, I don't have the means to pull a travel trailer, nor do I maybe want to because it
Right.
sounds
Daunting.
complicated.
Yeah.
You can actually get the RV delivered
I
to your
love that.
destination, and it's become
Mhm.
extremely popular with our customers. It takes the pressure off. You just show up to the campground that you choose. The RV is delivered by the local owner and set up for you. So they plug in the electricity, the sewage, and turn on the air conditioning, and all you do is show up and have a great
You just
weekend
show up
camping.
and vacation. Perfect. That sounds like my
That's
type of trip.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
So would you say like I know that RVing was kind of like when the pandemic hit, it kind of blew up, right? Because we're all on lockdown. And so that was kind of a means of, yeah, we can still vacation, we can still get out there. So do you think that was really when it became supercharged? And then how has it evolved post pandemic? Like, where are you guys at now? Is it still emerging in its space?
Absolutely. The pandemic really accelerated this industry by many, many years. Before the pandemic, I think RV travel still had that stigma that it was kind of your parents' retirement plan and, and or you'll do this in retirement. But with the pandemic and people travel preferences really changing,
Yeah.
RV travel kind of came to the forefront of mainstream travel. It was really the only option available for people to still get out and explore for a few years.
Yeah.
And we definitely saw that impacted our RV rental marketplace. And we had, people buying RVs and then listing them to kind of supplement their payments and be able to afford them. Then we
Yeah.
also had people who are looking to rent them, usually for long-term trips. Like our average nightly booking was 14 days back in 2021, which
Hot
is pretty
damn.
wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To think back on that people had so much time and flexibility and were
Everybody's
like,
working
sign
from
me
home.
up.
They can work from their
Yeah.
RV.
But however, today has changed a little bit. The RV industry, I think, has benefited greatly from the pandemic in terms of awareness and people understanding that this is a trip type that they
Yeah.
could work into their travel schedule. And so we still see that, and it has introduced RV travel to younger families, people looking to spend the weekend at a nearby state park or campground. Also has introduced people to using RVs for different types of trips, like a music festival or going to a NASCAR race, renting an RV, parking it in, the pit where other
Yeah.
RV owners are and having a super unique experience. And so people turn to RV travel a lot more now. It has kind of plateaued in like growth and popularity, but I think outdoor travel though has continued to grow. I obviously am in the industry and have just seen how much investment has gone into outdoor travel, and it's amazing and really
Hmm.
exciting. There are so many new amazing campgrounds and campground resorts. Even, there's been so much funding from the government that's gone into our national parks and state parks. And I think that's all off the back of the interest in outdoor travel. And that hasn't changed. People are still really wanting to get outside and experience the outdoors and whatever that
Yeah.
looks like for you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So how would RVing cater to the group size? Like if you're going with a family or a larger group or even a solo travel, how would that work for choosing an RV and a location or something like that?
Yeah, again, it really depends on what type of trip you're looking to take. It can accommodate any of those groups, whether it's a solo traveler, a couple, a family, or a group. I would say finding first and foremost, probably the RV that sleeps everyone comfortably is where I would start.
Hmm.
A solo traveler obviously is the easiest, but you probably don't need a giant rig to go on out on your own. Those like camper vans, that we see on social media, the van lifers, we have a bunch of those. Those are
Yeah.
really fun to try out. They're super easy to drive. It's like driving a minivan and easy to maneuver, park, and go through a state park or national park that might have some hills and mountains. So it's very like approachable and not as intimidating. Those are great for solo or couples. And then if you have a family, like I said, the Class C RV or a travel trailer is great. If you're traveling with a group, I would be hesitant to pack in like a ton of people into an RV. RVs are great because they can break down all the different seating arrangements into beds. So you could make your
That is
tabletop into a
creative. I like
bed
how they do that.
and
Yeah.
a couch is pull out and there's bunk beds and there could be a room with a queen or king bed in it. So you can do that, which could make things more affordable. But my preference would be to have like multiple RV rentals, whether that is delivered to a campground or, you and your family are trying to take a trip and maybe invite a friend and their family and they rent too, and everybody just heads to the same place. So just allows group travel. And it's definitely an interesting way to, be together for
Yeah.
a
It's a
longer
bonding
period of time.
experience if you get
Yeah.
that many people together. Um, so Maddie, I don't know if you know, but I'm very much into pet friendly travel. I have my little Riley. He comes with us everywhere, goes with us. So I love the fact that our RVing is pretty much it's pretty pet friendly forward, right? Like there's some maybe that you can't, but the RVing is very pet friendly from what I've researched.
Yes, it is extremely pet friendly and can be a fantastic experience for pet owners.
Yeah.
Majority of RVs on RVshare are pet friendly, and we have a filter on our site to kind of narrow down those
Nice.
options.
Yeah.
A lot of times, the listing will kind of describe if they have a pet fee, they could or might not, could be as cheap as like $70 for the whole trip. So check that out. Make sure you understand kind of what there's any fees associated.
Right.
Um, and then also the great thing about RVing and camping with your dog is it's such a dog friendly way to travel because
Yeah.
you're outside, obviously.
Mhm.
And there are so many great campgrounds that actually cater to pet travel. A lot of
Mhm.
campgrounds are naturally just pet friendly, but then also there's some that I found, and it's so funny because I did the research. There's a few in North Carolina where you guys are based. There's one that's called like Four Paws Kingdom that is
Mhm.
totally decked out for pets. They have
Oh,
like a pet
nice.
washing station, they have a pool for the pets, they have like located on a river, and everything about this campground is for your dog's vacation.
Nice.
So I thought that was really fun.
Awesome. I
And
write
we
that
also,
down.
yeah, we also had RVshare did a campground awards where we hand out awards to some of the best campgrounds within the nation. And our most pet friendly RV park, it was also in North Carolina, the one that won, and that's called River Walk RV. And so they also cater to your pets. So I thought that was great. And you guys will definitely have to check that out for me and let me know if like you think they're great locations for pet travel. But yeah, RVs are awesome for traveling with your dog.
And that's awesome because like my daughter wants to go everywhere with her dog and she likes to travel, but finding a Airbnb or a hotel or resort that will have it isn't as it's not, there's not that many and it's a lot harder, but taking the fact that you guys can deliver the RV might be the way for her to go because then she can just still show up and enjoy a stress-free vacation with all the personal amenities of having your own space with your pups. So I'm definitely going to pass that along to her. How does RV travel compare in cost to traditional vacation options like hotels and flights and things like that? Are they comparable?
So of course, it depends what type of RV you're renting. They really greatly range on our site. If or have a one that's a teardrop, that's like which is a little guy that sleeps like two people and maybe a kitchen off the back, so it's pretty small. That one's like $50 a night. But then, of course, if you're staying like a rock star in a class A, which are the more like tour bus size, if you can picture that, those can range in the 300s to 400s even because they can really get luxurious and decked out. And but on average, a class C or travel trailer that I said are most popular are about 150 to $200 a night. You could have added fees based on like delivery. There could be a small fee to get it delivered. It talks about a pet friendly fee.
Mhm.
And then also the RVs, which will be specified on the listings, might have like mileage included or have an overage fee depending on the miles. So I like to plot out if I'm doing a road trip, just how far and how many miles we'll be traveling, and then
Mhm.
how many days, and calculate if there's going to be any cost at the end of my trip based off that mileage overage fees. Um, a lot of times, if you're just traveling in a few hours, like radius, then you won't have to worry about those fees, but something to consider. And of course, then you're booking your campground, paying for campground, but you can get amazing, awesome campgrounds for pretty cheap. Back in the pandemic, and I think there's still some whispers and rumors that it's hard to find a campground and they're expensive. Those things have kind of level set. There's a ton of availability out there, and like I said, there's so many new amazing facilities, and they're really ranging between like $60, $100 a night. So when adding that all together, I mean, to do a long weekend in an RV, probably about $1,000, but you have a kitchen, you have your transportation, you have your room and board. So, compared to other trips, I think it is on the cheaper side. But again, it just kind of depends how far you're going and what your mode of transportation is. So, um,
Yeah.
I think it's worth, checking out, but there are a couple pieces they have to put together to kind of figure out that final price tag.
Right. It does sound like it's comparable with like the hotel, a rental car, a flight, where with if you put all those pieces together, you could pretty much compare kind of like apples to apples and far as far as what you're getting for your value. So it does sound like it's pretty comparable to the traditional modes of vacationing.
Yeah, yeah, and it's also a different opportunity of a type of trip, right? Because you're out in nature and you're doing different things. So I like that aspect of it too. It's kind of just like taking a different route. Um, so what would you say like are your top destination that your RV users tend to take trips, and do you have like any hidden gems that you would suggest? Because there are some that are more popular or cater more to people camping or outdoors, you know?
Yeah, so our most popular destinations are where the RV listings really are most available. So, RV travel is very seasonal. Of course, traveling an RV in the winter is not the best idea. So, a lot of times we find that majority of our inventory is in, Southern California, Arizona, Texas, Florida. So it's kind of along the southern states, so that it's more of a year-round experience.
Hmm. Yeah.
And so we see a lot of people who are flying to a city and then renting from there to explore the national parks
Hmm.
that they're looking to check off their list.
Hmm.
So Las Vegas is a big one where people will fly in, rent, and head to the Grand Canyon. Salt Lake City is a big one to fly into Salt Lake, head south, do the big four national parks. We see a lot of people also rent from Salt Lake City to head north to Yellowstone, the Grand Tetons, and then, of course, in California, you have a ton of national parks out there, great road trips like Highway 1. And so people are really looking when renting RV, the top destinations are those bucket list RV trips that you would think of.
Yeah.
Um, and I've done a couple of those myself. Like my favorite is probably Salt Lake City, just because it's pretty easy from where I live from Austin, Texas, easy flight in. And then there's some great options, and it's only a few hours to get to some beautiful parks like Yellowstone. My favorite trip I ever done was going from Salt Lake to Bozeman, Montana, and back. And Salt Lake to
Yeah.
Bozeman through the Grand Tetons and Yellowstone up to Bozeman is only 6 hours. So
Mm.
like we did that over 5 days and then, 12 hours round trip. And it was just so leisurely, such a nice road trip. And we checked off so much off our list and we saw
Yeah.
so many amazing things. And if both those parks are just gorgeous and they're Yellowstone, of course, is huge. So we didn't cover every square mile.
Yeah.
Right.
But
It is
we
huge. You're
got to
right.
see a lot of it doing that route. And so I think that is what like I would recommend doing in an RV. And like I said, a lot of people use our RVshare to go to those big national parks.
Yeah, and I've booked several people clients that have flown in and rented cars and then stay at different hotels around the area. So this is kind of a different option for that too. So I definitely am going to suggest that to my clients that like to do those national park trips.
And I
Yeah.
was just
And then,
thinking about that trip that because we had talked about the trip she had planned. When you're trying to do the national park, especially something like Yellowstone, and trying to hit the four entrances or something like that,
Yeah.
it's harder to find hotels that far because it's out there. It's not like a city environment. It's very out in the outdoors. So bringing your sleeping arrangements with you is such a great option.
It's an awesome idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. People again are intimidated by the like national park campgrounds because like a lot of times they do book up, they come up available like 6 months in advance. So at peak times, like getting a spot within the park is challenging. But
I
outside
can
of those
attest to this.
entrances, there are private campgrounds that have a ton of availability. I've also gotten a last minute spot within Yellowstone, just checking, the week before and refreshing. There's always cancellations. And but finding those campgrounds right outside the parks, that is a great hack and a good, easy way to find a place to park your RV. And then also for the more advanced, I say like a level 2 RVer, you could do boondocking, which is parking on public or free land. So there's actually apps out there that highlight where that is. So there's like thousands and hundreds of thousands of acreage in the United States that's public land, and you can park and camp on it for free. And so
Nice.
in Wyoming and Montana, there are some availability to do that. Also done it in Idaho on this trip that I'm talking about. And it's free to kind of find a spot. And again, I use Road Trippers app, and there's a app within that called Campendium, and they're the ones that kind of point out the spots that you could park overnight and kind of even review it. Community reviews tells you kind of if it's a good spot to park. And I really enjoy it because you're really away from the crowds. It feels like kind of dispersed camping, like, but you still have the comforts of an RV and your bed, and you can kind of like self-sustaining live off the RV because that's what they're meant to do. You know, like the solar will keep it powered or a battery will keep it powered. And then you have your tanks, your water tanks to still wash a dish, wash your hands, brush your teeth, things like that.
Right. Yeah. Well, now that you mentioned some apps, let's talk about the technology that's in the RV travel experience. Like the navigation, the amenities, and for convenience and stuff, because we're also used to using some form of GPS. And my parents have an RV, and then a friend of mine had an RV, and they had an experience where they were following their regular GPS on their phone, the regular app that everybody uses, and it took them through a bridge that was not correct for an RV, and they got stuck by the AC units on top. And so then they invested into a specific GPS for the RV that kind of routed you. You could put in your size. Like, it was very interesting, the type of technology that makes it convenient and easy to drive and navigate an RV. So what can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, that's such a bummer that they had that
Yeah.
experience. I've heard of that happening, but I haven't personally experienced it. I think having a GPS that's specific to the height of your RV is super interesting. I think too, you could kind of come across maybe some like mountain passes and stuff like that that wouldn't be as RV friendly. So that would be great to kind of have that on your radar as you travel. Some apps and things that I really like, again, the Road Tripper app has really consolidated a bunch of these camping apps that have popped up in the last few years that are really useful. They're like pretty community driven. So it's finding camping spots or dump stations for those that need to like dump the tanks along the way, which we can get into, but it's like not as intimidating as it sounds, but that is a great resource. Also just tips and tricks for certain, road trips, recommendations. So Road Tripper app is really great. I also have recently discovered Adventure Genie. It's a road tripping app as well. It uses a lot of AI technology to kind of help plan out your RV road trip. Again, talking about places to stop, campgrounds, the cheapest gas, and it kind of just like is a little bit forward thinking. So it kind of knows, like if you're driving up from Texas north, you'll probably need to hit the gas station by the time you get to the border. So here's a cheap place to stop. So it just kind of plots along for you, which is really cool and kind of a newer app to the space. I also have a ton of campground apps that I rely on. There's so many cool ones out there. Harvest Host is a really cool one that allows you to camp on properties privately owned. So whether that's a winery or an apple orchard or at a brewery. So those
Cheryl and
can
I
be
go,
like,
I know both of us
yeah, you
perked
have.
up when you said we could camp at a winery.
and they provide just a really cool experience, I think. So it's on my list to do something like that in the fall, like park at
Yes,
an apple
please.
orchard or something and have that experience. And then Hip Camp is a really cool one as well. Hip Camp is again privately owned properties that list out their farms or their land so that you can camp on those, and it's extremely cheap. So it's something like, maybe you're paying like $10 to camp. So it's a good like budget travel hack for RVers.
Wow. So
That's
we'll have to
awesome.
put all those apps in and get links to that. That you're a fountain of knowledge, Maddie.
Right. Yes. So one of the other groups of travelers that I like to work with are those that have accessible needs. So how accessible would RV traveling be?
So there are some accessible RVs on the market. I know Winnebago makes one, and a lot of them have, the wheelchair lifts and things like that. I have seen them on RVshare site before, but they're kind of few and far between, because our listings turn over and they're not always up there and easy to find, I would say.
Mhm.
So, I think RV travel can be a bit tricky, but what we do have that's a new offering on our site is park models. And what park models are, they're actually can sit in an RV because they have a VIN number, and their campgrounds bring them onto their sites to set them up kind of as little tiny cabins. So, they're trailered in, but then they kind of permanently fix them on their campgrounds. And they're really cute. They have a bathroom and a bed and a little kitchen, and you're right on the RV park. And I stayed in one at the KOA in San Diego, and it was a wheelchair accessible park model and had a ramp and easy entrance and a large bathroom, easy bed access. And so those are awesome ways for this community to still get the camping experience. And so we're starting to list those for rent on our site, and I'd really recommend checking those out. And a majority of campgrounds these days have park models available on site.
That's awesome. That
That
is
is
really awesome.
awesome. What a cool concept. I like the forward thinking there. That's awesome.
Hmm.
So the other thing I was going to ask you, so you've been on some of these trips, you have driven these RVs, you said you went up and through Grand the Tetons, and that sounded like amazing trip, by the way.
Hmm.
But do you have, if you could plan like the ultimate RV adventure, what would you say like is your bucket list place that you have not traveled to in an RV yet?
So next on my list is definitely to do an international trip. I would love to RV in another country. RVshare today is only available in the US, but RVing does expand outside of the US. I was just speaking to somebody at a travel conference this week actually that said they were in France and Normandy specifically over the summer and couldn't believe how many RVs they saw in France and how there are so many amenities for RVers and like certain parking lots for RV travelers and stuff, and that kind of blew
Nice.
me away. So I have always wanted to RV in Iceland and
Mm,
New Zealand.
nice.
So that would be something that I would love to do in the near future. My bucket list US trip was to RV in Hawaii just because kind of blows your mind when you think about it. How did they get RVs to Hawaii? But there are camper vans out there, mostly built for two people. And my husband and I have RV'd in Hawaii about a year ago, and it was a fantastic trip and a really fun experience.
Nice. I'm jealous. I still have not made it to Hawaii.
That's amazing.
That's
I
amazing.
can't imagine RVing and being able to just kind of park right there near the beach because it's beautiful and waking up to that sunset or sunrise, rather waking up. You're going to wake up to the sunrise. But I
Yeah.
bet that was absolutely amazing being right there in it, plugged into the environment versus the city part.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely got to explore the island. There are a handful of campgrounds, and then the national park, obviously, there on Maui has camping. And so we were inside the park where you going to the summit to watch the sunrise is a really popular tourist attraction. And people get up at, 4 a.m. to load into a van, to leave their resort, to drive up and up
Mhm.
and up and up to get to the summit. And we were already like halfway there. So we got to sleep a little later, and we're kind of the first ones up to the summit to get that viewpoint to see the sunrise. So that was a good perk. We also would pull our RV up right to the beach. A lot of times the parking lots are like right on the beach, so we could just back our van in, open the doors, make lunch with the ocean breeze coming through, lay on the bed
Nice.
and read a book and just have this like stunning view. So that was really cool. And then there's the road to Hana, which gets a bit tricky, and really the RV owner wouldn't recommend going past a certain point because it gets very narrow
Winding.
and a little
Yeah.
scary for a bigger vehicle. So we only went, I think only like 1/3 of the way or something, but still to be able to kind of go down the Rotana, stop at waterfalls and have, then the RV to go back and change out of your wetsuit and then keep heading on and like being able to again just like make food right there. It was just really fun and a cool way to explore.
That's awesome.
That does sound nice. Absolutely.
So what exciting developments or upcoming features can we expect from RVshare in the future?
Yeah, so on our site already, we have a great kind of tool that helps you narrow down your RV. And we've talked a couple times today about just like how
Mhm.
do I pick the right RV for me? So it's called RV Finder. And when you go to our homepage, just right there on the search kind of portal, you can click on RV Finder and it helps you narrow down exactly the right type of RV for your destination, your trip type, how many people you want it to sleep. And it's a little bit more like interactive than just searching the site yourself. So I'd recommend checking that out, seeing if it kind of serves you up any RVs that would be of interest. So that's a really cool feature. We are really encouraging people to just try to travel in an RV in a different capacity. So whether that's doing an RV to a football game or a NASCAR race or using an RV, I have friends that have used it for parking it in front of their house for extra space during the holidays. So if you need
Ooh,
another bedroom, like we call it
That's
mooch
cool.
docking. So it's not boondocking, which is the word for camping on dispersed land, like I had talked about with the public land out there, but then we can mooch dock where you kind of have an RV in your driveway and it adds extra space for visitors or relatives to stay in. And a lot of people do that around the holidays. So that's a great feature. And again, you could get that delivered from a local owner. And then everybody could kind of still be in the same vicinity.
that's awesome. That's a great idea too. And that's an awesome tip for the upcoming holiday season for those
That's
family members
correct.
that
You
are just
put
going to pop in. You can stick them out, or I would go out in the RV and let them have the house so we have our own space. Like it's just a great idea. I'm thinking
Yeah.
about that.
yeah,
So that's
absolutely.
amazing.
So Maddie, what final message would you share with our listeners who are considering RV vacations?
Yeah, I think that my, final words would just be I think there's a different accommodation for every type of trip. So if you're going to New York City, you're gonna stay in a hotel. If you're gonna head to the beach, you'll probably rent a vacation rental, a nice beach house. But if you're gonna go to a national park or spend some time outdoors, you should do that in an RV. It is such a fantastic experience. We have 94% 5-star reviews on our site because I think people are just blown away about how easy it actually is, the experience they get from renting an RV and how you get to try it out without having to pay for an RV and the maintenance and the fees that come along with owning. Families love it. Kids think it's the coolest thing ever. I've heard so many stories over and over again that families say, this was the best vacation we've ever taken. My kids absolutely loved RV travel. So I would just say, give it a try. It's really, really fun. And yeah, I think you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I do recall, like, so for those of us that are like, maybe not so, like, Cheryl's a Girl Scout leader, and maybe I'm like more of your glamping type, but there are kind of like situations and places for everybody because I believe we discussed there's some place maybe in Florida that's almost like an all inclusive. Like you pull up, they've got the little tiki huts, they've got the pools, they've got all the cool stuff to do. So that sounds like kind of my jam.
Right. There are so many different types of destinations, and such a good point because I think again, when you think of RV travel, you're thinking of a campground that's still, outdoor focused, and maybe your daily activities would be hiking and having, a bonfire with s'mores, which is quintessential and an amazing experience, but there are so many other ways to RV now. And there are these RV park resorts that are incredible. One I really like and have visited and love the team there is the Camp Margaritaville in Auburndale, Florida. So it is
Where I want to be.
amazing. They have a few locations now. I think there's also one in Pigeon Forge that had just opened. Should probably check them out to see where they have other locations. But basically it's the Margaritaville brand that's come in to make a campground resort. So it still has the cement pads for you to pull your RV up into, but each cement pad has a tiki hut with like an outdoor kitchen and a fridge and a bar, then amazing resort pool that's like, you know, the Margaritaville way, and like a swim up bar and like
I
a
like that
restaurant
one. I
on
like that.
site and a lake with a wake park like that you can do wakeboarding, which is amazing
Nice.
for kids. So just so many different amenities. I've also gone and camped at a place here in the Hill Country in Texas, which is like west of Austin. That's called Camp Fimfo. They also have a few locations. And it is, again, just more of a resort. There's an amazing water park for the kids. There is this like wooden coaster through the hills. And they have different theme nights and live music. And like, it's just such a fun, family friendly way to camp. And my
Mhm.
other tip would also be like, you don't have to go that far to have these experiences. Look in your local area. You know, even doing a quick trip to the local state park, camping there is going to be really fun. You don't have to travel that far to try out RVing.
Yeah, absolutely. You can have an
That's
adventure
awesome.
in your city.
And if
Yes.
I would say the
Just a different
takeaway would
experience.
be there is something for just about something for everyone in the RV vacation style. You can find something that fits your vacation type. And I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Mhm.
Well,
Well,
thank you
thank you
so
for your
much for
time today.
joining us today, Maddie. We appreciate it. And we're very excited about what's coming up for RVShare. And we are going to make sure all of your information and where our listeners can go to start checking out renting and vacationing RV style.
Well, thanks for having me on, ladies. Appreciate it.
Awesome. All right. Thanks for joining us, guys. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.